and welcome to the Art of Value Whispering podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, value whisperer and business coach, and advocate for introverted female experts who want to build a business that feels natural, authentic, and has an impact. Each week, we explore what it really takes to create a quietly impactful business that thrives through meaningful marketing, value-driven sales, and self-leadership. So if you're ready to attract more of your dream clients, sell with confidence, and create lasting success on your own terms, you're in the right place. And welcome also to our 250th episode. I can't quite believe we've reached this milestone. And as I was thinking about what to do in this episode to mark this milestone, I decided to do something that I haven't actually done before on the podcast, and that is to bring some of my clients onto the show to talk to you about what value whispering means from their perspective, from people who are working alongside me and applying the principles you've been learning on this podcast to their business. What have they learned? What have they found challenging? What has led them to the key breakthroughs in their business? And what would they recommend that you start to do or keep in mind as you're building your business? Their advice is brilliant and illuminating, and I've learned a lot through this. So I hope you find this helpful and enjoyable. And also, to celebrate this milestone, I've put together a special podcasting masterclass to share everything I've learned about launching a podcast, what happens behind the scenes to keep it going, and what it takes to be a memorable guest and to successfully pitch to podcasts. So if you are thinking of bringing podcasting either as a host or a guest into your marketing strategy, do come along to that. And if you are listening to this later, don't worry, I will give you access to the replay from the same link I'm about to give you. Also, what I've done is I've taken some of the most impactful, transformational episodes of this show from the last 5 years. It has been really difficult to narrow that down because they all have had an important lesson to share. But I've taken key themes around building a successful business, having an impact. And on each theme, you can listen to an episode a day for a week to really understand things like, how do you stand out and be visible in a way that feels authentic and genuine to you, and have the confidence to do so consistently? How do you sell your business without feeling pushy and salesy through that whole process? It's all in there. So you can access both the masterclass and playlists by going to melittacampbell.com/250. That's the number 250. Meantime, it's with great pleasure that I introduce you to some of the blueprinters. So hi everyone, welcome and thank you for being here and joining me for the 250th episode of the podcast. I never imagined it would be going this long. I don't even think I imagined how long it would go for when I started, but I love that it has been going for so long. And I love that you're all here because I know many of you listen to the podcast. You listened to the podcast before becoming clients, some of you, and now you are all part of the Value Whispering Blueprint program. I thought it'd be great to bring you on, talk a little bit about your businesses and what you now understand as value whispering, as a way to build and grow your business, and the insights that you've learned that our audience can also benefit from. So thank you all for being here. I know some of you have been on podcasts before. Alice and Ines have both been on this podcast before. Others, Swantje, I think it's your first podcast.
Yes.
Catherine, is it your first too?
I think so.
Yay. Well, I'm so pleased that you're with us for your first episode. So let's do a quick round of introductions for the audience. So Sam, you were top of my screen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Samantha Jones and I'm a midwife and acupuncturist, a fertility specialist based in North Wales in the UK. And I work with women who are struggling to either get pregnant or stay pregnant. I have quite a holistic approach and I'm there really to help women to feel heard.
Love that. Swantje.
Yeah, Swantje Duncker. I'm based out of Lausanne in Switzerland and also currently a blueprinter, as we lovingly call ourselves. And I'm passionate about coaching clients into not having to decide if they want to have a successful career and a successful life or feeling fulfilled and alive, but actually it's possible to have both.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I love that. And we're also exploring possibly weaving in your other passion into that.
Yeah, my big long year passion about horses and horseback riding. So there is an angle to that with allowing progress and authenticity with your horses. So beyond just having riding lessons, but also how to work on this every day.
Yeah, watch this space. Ines, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Since the last episode, I gained a new title from my clients. So my name is Ines Kaps and my clients call me Queen of Projects.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's absolutely
You need to
fascinating.
get a crown.
I have it actually on my LinkedIn profile. I'm wearing a crown. Yeah, I help businesses implementing their transformation projects. And I'm particularly passionate about helping women in project management to really thrive in challenging, big, and really fascinating projects. So yes, I am Queen of Projects and I love projects.
Yeah, awesome. And if you want to know more about Ines's background, go and check out her episode. We worked on her pitch, and yeah, that was really cool. I loved that one. Alice, welcome back to you too.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here with everybody. So I'm Alice Sheldon. I work with organisations to help them to develop a culture of empathy and empowerment so everyone can thrive. I use a 4-part needs-based framework, and I offer keynotes and trainings, and I'm based in London in the UK.
Yeah, and tell us the name of your book again, because I love it.
It's called Why Weren't We Taught This at School?
Yeah, brilliant. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to Alice's episode and you'll start to understand what needs understanding is. And she talks us through the fingerprint needs, which already has changed things for me as well. So you'll really learn a lot in just a few minutes. So brilliant. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Catherine in the big sunny chair.
Hello, I'm Catherine Smith and I help women who are feeling tired, stressed and overwhelmed to find ways to regain their energy, take back control of their health and to really start to live life the way they want to. And I do that because I was one of those women who was tired, stressed and overwhelmed, and I want people to find a quicker way of living the way they want to live. It took me a very long time to get to the position I am now, and I want people to do it quicker than that with my help.
Yeah, and to know that it's possible, because I think, when you have a busy life and you've got kids and a job and you're running here, there and everywhere and you're exhausted, it can feel like, well, of course I'm exhausted, So I think for women to understand that, yes, you have a lot on, but you can feel better, that in itself is amazing. And for that reason, you actually made it into my TEDx talk. You get a special mention. So there we go. So I would love to kick off today with looking at, obviously, this is the Art of Value Whispering podcast. And value whispering, it's not a term like marketing or sales that everybody's heard of and knows, because basically I made it up. But I would love it if you could share with the audience what value whispering means to you now that you've experienced that process a little bit. With your insight, what does value whispering mean to you? Let's do the same order. Sam, what about for you?
So I think for me, the way that the programme has been set out, it's really about developing my own message and what it is that I need to have that resonation with for my clients. I am an introvert, but I have this confidence in that I don't mind helping women to find their voice. So really, it's about that quiet confidence within that message and trusting that what we're doing is really powerful for the clients that we have and how we help them. And that has been very clear in the first part of this journey with you and the value whispering piece.
I love that you touched on there that you're an introvert, but you have this quiet confidence, because often it's assumed that you're an introvert, therefore you're shy and you don't like people and you just stay at home and read a book all day, which is not introversion at all. We do love people, we love being social, but we just need to balance that outgoing energy with time to recuperate. And we tend to not just blurt things out, we'll stop and reflect and think a little bit more. So just the way we operate is a little bit different, but there's no difference in what we can do. But because we like to reflect and consider things before we say it, then saying things that are meaningful and we know are going to have an impact is so important, because otherwise we won't say it. So finding that inner meaning is so important. So I love that you touched on that. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so true. And I think the other thing that would resonate with me is in terms of being a midwife. So the term midwife actually means being with woman. So as midwives, we actually sit back and are quiet observers of what happens in the arena of childbirth. So for me, I would sit back and watch, the miraculous birth unfold. And it's for you to then step in when things are not quite going the way that you would expect. And it's very much like that. And I can resonate with this kind of message, I suppose.
Yeah. And we'll get to your message in a minute, because that was quite a recent breakthrough. And hopefully everyone listening will get the same goosebumps that everyone on the call did when you came up with it. But let's hear from Swantje. So you're in the earlier stages of the Blueprint program, but you've also known me for probably the longest of everybody, and you've seen my evolution a little bit as well. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what Value Whispering is all about.
That's true. We know each other for quite some years already. And for me, when I realized that I couldn't actually start what I wanted to do independently alone, I mean, the decision was pretty straightforward, who I would call. But then the value whispering was really something that resonated in a totally different way than I ever thought. So everybody who knows me would probably not describe me as an introvert. So I'm rather having an easy way to connect with people. That's not necessarily a problem. But when it comes to transferring my own values and the value I bring and my worth for what I can do for my clients, that's a totally different story. And sales and marketing for me, that was kind of pushy, kind of, almost forcing people to do something. That was never something that very resonated. And I said, I can't do that. I'm just not going to touch a business thing because I can't do that. And then there came this word value whispering, and that so resonated because I grew up close to the ocean. My whole life, I've been listening to whispers. The ocean, the waves whispering, the wind whispering, and the trees. And there was always wisdom in there for me. And this idea of, transferring your value in a different way and your wisdom on more like a more connected approach and not something that's placative, that really resonated, and that has been true for every single moment I spent so far in the program. And I can see how this will help making everything that's around marketing and bringing my value out there to be heard and to be available for people a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. Once you really understand this is my message, and as you said so beautifully, you feel really connected to that, then the marketing and sales feel so much easier, more meaningful, but almost something that you can't not do, because you know how powerful it's going to become and what a powerful difference you can make for other people. But I also love that you touched on something there. I rewrote my TEDx talk so many times because I presented it, and then every time at the end of the talk, someone would say, oh, yes, I worked on my values and I really believed in what you said. It's like, no, this is not just your values, it's all of your value together. So that's one thing that I've really try hard to mention, because your values are important, but there's so much more to you than just your values. You want to bring all of your expertise, your brilliance, your caring, all the hard-earned wisdom. It's about embracing all of that and looking at, okay, well, what of this can I apply in a way that's going to be meaningful for me and my clients and get these transformational results? So yeah, and talking about transformation, perfect time to move on to Ines.
Yeah, I think what you just said is what helped me in this program was the reflection on what value do I bring to my clients. Because the things that I thought were valuable were maybe not the most valuable for my clients. And the things where I just said, well, that's easy, that's natural to me, is maybe something extremely important to my clients. But just because it's, let's say, irrelevant in my eyes doesn't mean it's irrelevant for my clients. So I think this exchange and feedback is extremely powerful to me. And throughout the whole program, and I think I'm now kind of 10 months in or something, it's really a constant evolution of not only what do I want to bring to my clients, but who is my ideal client and who is my ideal customers, because in my case that is different, and I'm fine-tuning my message, my approach, and all this feedback is very important to me, but also the modules and the approach that I'm building a business that fits my lifestyle and that is scalable. Because in the end, I really want to scale my business. And in this program, I'm setting the foundation for this scale.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And it is looking at all the value about you, but what's most valuable for your clients. And that's the bit that throws up really unexpected things sometimes. So you can sometimes market your business to the gaps in their life. You realize, well, I can make a difference here. It's got nothing to do with my business, but everything to do with demonstrating my depth of understanding, my values, my philosophy, and how I care. You just never know where that insight is going to take you. So, and as you said, you sometimes discover parts of you and your expertise that you had dismissed. You hadn't quite realized just how valuable that was until you put it into the context. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck with their niching, because they have their niche, but then they're not quite sure what to do with that information because they haven't linked it to their value and then linked that to their message. So yeah, thank you. Alice.
Yes, thank you. I love this phrase because every time I hear value whispering, I think of that late 90s Robert Redford film, The Horse Whisperer. And it's nice having Swantje talking about horses because that also brings it alive. But I echo everything that's been said. I suppose, what I want to add in is the power of undertaking this process of identifying value with a trusted companion, in this case, you, Melitta. And, I don't want to compare you to Robert Redford, but I suppose what's similar to me about it is I did not know what I was going to get at all. I don't probably fit the introvert model or personality, or I wouldn't necessarily classify myself in that way. But what I've really appreciated is that you have drawn alongside me, and as far as I can see, are doing that with everybody else in a way that really fits for me. And for me, that's part of the whispering. It's like bringing out the magic that is in me, and challenging where it's helpful and supporting where it's helpful. So that's the piece that I wanted to name.
Thank you. And I've hesitated for a long time to go all in on, I help introverts, because like you and other blueprinters are extroverted. But I think when it comes to showing up and, there's that hesitation. And so it's like you're being a little bit shy in the way that you show up within your business. And therefore there's that disconnect, your value isn't coming through. So I kind of feel it's not necessarily if you're introverted, but like if that's how you're feeling about showing up in your business and attracting clients, and then finding, well, what is it that's going to make you feel really aligned, really confident, really ready to go forward in the way that is meaningful for you. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. I know we were looking at your strategy yesterday because you have a book, you have a system, you have certain things. So taking that forward in a way that works for your personality is quite different to how other people might approach their business. But for me, that's the fun part. It's there, if I just say, oh, just do this and it will work. One, I don't believe that. But two, it's like, well, how boring. We want to find the secret sauce that is going to be so meaningful and really connect and resonate so deeply with your clients. You don't have to shout. That's really the whole idea. Now, there's a scene in the Indiana Jones films, and he turns up and this guy has got a sword and he's doing this fancy stuff, and then Harrison Ford pulls out a gun, and apparently that scene he was going to have a proper sword battle, but he was really not well that day, so he just pulled out his gun and that was the end of the scene. And I kind of wonder if this is we're going to get to Catherine, because she has shown up even though she's feeling a bit under the weather, and she's just going to say ditto. He'll be the shotgun in that scene. But Catherine, what does value whispering mean for you?
Now, I've got lots to say, Melitta, don't worry. Yeah, the way it's been for me is that I feel like I started off this program being a bit lost. And what I came in with was a lot of lived experience of the issues I'm now helping women to deal with, and a course that taught me how to be a health coach. So it taught me extra information about how I would solve people's problems, but it taught me how to coach as well. But I didn't, for whatever reason, have the confidence to sort of go out there and be that person. It was almost like I was me trying to put on the clothes I'd been given that made me a health coach. And what's happened in the interim time, and I don't really know when it happened or how it happened, because it's been quite subtle and over a long period of time, is that now just feels like it's fully integrated into me. So it now just feels like it's authentic and it's coming from me, and I'm not having to put it on, and it's not somebody else's. So that's the way I would explain it. But I don't really know. It's just like one day I woke up and thought, I'm ready now. I'm ready to go out there. So that's what I'm doing. And the feedback I'm getting is that people are seeing me as just very authentic. People are seeing me connecting with people. And that's what I'm getting the feedback on, the engagement and the authenticity. So it's worked, but I don't really know what happened. And I don't really know when it happened. But that's the way it feels to me. It feels like it's sort of embedded and integrated what I was trained with what I was, and it's all come together and it's now just me.
Yeah, I love that so much. And that's why I've designed the program a certain way, because once you start to see your value and how you can use that to make a difference in a specific way, that belief starts to follow. And what's great with the program, because we meet twice a week, not everyone comes to both calls, you can choose, but you can come as often as you like. And you've been coming very consistently, particularly in the early days. And then you were like, well, I'm not sure, but I've got this opportunity. I'm going to give it a go. And then you'd come back and you would share what happened, and we'd all give you feedback and encouragement, and you'd go. And every single time, you probably couldn't see it, but if you could look back at the recordings, you're getting a little bit stronger. And well, I said this and they really responded well. So I had this conversation. And then at one point you said, well, actually, I used to do all of these presentations in corporate and I was really good and people loved it. Why aren't I doing that? And as soon as you had that realization, about a week or two later, you came back and said, oh, I've been asked to speak. And I think as you've built that belief, because you always had the skills, you haven't learned anything through this program that you didn't already have, but bit by bit having that belief and then seeing how people responded to that, that's kind of built into, oh no, now I really know I'm in the right place. And I love that because you have so much to offer. So yeah, exciting. Thank you. So I would love for you to share. So the program's quite comprehensive and there's a lot to it. And it's always a different point where there is that little penny drop moment where things click together. And sometimes it's a small insight that suddenly transforms everything. And Sam's a great example of that. You were feeling a bit lost when it came to creating your signature system, and we were talking about that. And there's one thing you said, and everybody responded to it. And then probably about an hour later, you had your system all built around this one thing. I don't want to go into details because I want you to share it, but it was just like, wow, but for everyone, this little moment is quite different. And maybe in Catherine's case, your Camden analysis, it was actually very subtle, more an accumulation of these little insights, and having that feedback, support, and accountability along the way helped you get to that point. But yeah, Sam, do you want to tell us about your new system, or maybe there was a bigger insight that you had?
So I've had so many insights, and I'm only like on week 4 and 5. But I think when I came, and we were talking about this last week, is that I have so much knowledge, so many modalities that it can feel overwhelming. And we had got on a call, and I was struggling with trying to understand the difference between the program and a signature system, because it kind of felt like they were all intertwined. And we started talking about some of the words that resonated for me and my clients, being as I work on a very specific timeline. And it just so happened that 3 of the words that started to come out from that talk were individualized, choice, and validation, so that my clients are seen and heard. And after that call, I went away, and they kind of led me to what is now my signature system, which is called the voice system, which really is about the validation and the visibility of my clients, because very often they're dismissed, or their concerns are not acknowledged, or they're ignored, and then that moves into the ownership and the options that they have. So this is really about their autonomy in any portion of a fertility or pregnancy journey. And then every pathway is individualized. That's the I part of the voice system, because it's very often that there are policies or protocols that these women are tried to be sort of shoehorned into, when in actual fact it should be the other way around, to make sure that women feel like they are the centre of the care that they're given. And then that goes into the C, which is choice and control. And really, this is to give women the confidence to make their own decisions, because there's a lot of coercion that goes on in relation to the timeline that I work with. And then finally, it was about the embodiment and empowerment piece, so that they start to trust their body, that they stop listening to the stories of what other women may be saying because it's been their experience, which then leads them to start doubting. So the whole thing, like you said, came together in an hour, and I had the whole graphic, and it was just remarkable, actually. And it came from your leadership, but also from the support of the calls and the group. So it just goes to show what can be done. You know, two minds are sometimes better than one. It was remarkable, and that's my biggest aha moment so far, even though I've had a lot.
Yeah, and that just gave us all goosebumps. And when you called it voice, and it's so clearly puts the woman at the center of her entire journey and gives her the control, empowers her with the right knowledge, but also the ability to make her own choices and feel comfortable with that. And at a time where, when it comes to women's health, our voices are being taken away even more globally, it feels. It was just so powerful. And I love how once that clicked, it all came together. I'm so excited for you to take this forward. And I want to jump forward to Catherine, because she's looking at women's health as well. But it was my aha moment with Catherine. I don't know if it's the same for you. You may have a different one, but was similar. It was when we had a conversation. So in the program, it's a group, but then we have certain one-to-one calls throughout, just to make sure that everything is coming together and clear before you move on to the next section. And in that one-to-one call, I remember you saying that these are my values, and yeah, this is what I do, and this is my client, but it kind of feels the same as everyone else. But then when you were telling me about why you're doing it, your own journey, and then suddenly you said, I just believe that women are being sold a lie that after you turn 30, your health goes down from there. And I was like, this is it. And just taking that perspective, the very next time you say anything to anyone with that in mind, you're going to have an impact. And I just thought that, for me, that was like huge. I don't know if you agree if that was a turning point for you, or if there was some other aha moments for you, Catherine.
Yeah, it was a turning point, but I think there's two other things that stick out to me. One is the thing you mentioned before, which was when I really realised that I actually had everything I needed already, which was to do with, although I hadn't done it for very many years, when I did used to present in my 20s and early 30s, I was doing it in a big corporate international conferences and things like that. And it's almost like I'd completely forgotten I could do that, or that I could ever do it again as me as I am now, because I was a totally different person then. But yes, a part of the programme where we specifically looked at what, I can't remember which module it's in, but it was to do with my fears and what I thought was stopping me and what I was worried about. And it was about going out there. I was wondering, why am I just not getting out there and selling myself, but not in a selling way? But why am I just not doing that? Why am I sitting at home doing social media posts, which is all part of it, but I just couldn't work out why I wasn't getting out there. And it was just fear. And then when I challenged myself and looked back at, not only was I doing it before, but I was a good presenter before. I was called upon to do live demos of software and things like that. I was congratulated for how engaging I was. I hated doing it at the time, but I was definitely really good at it. So that was one thing, the fact that I just thought, there is no reason I can't do this. I just haven't done it for a while, but it's all in me. I have the ability. So that was one thing, which I think was really significant, because it just took away those blocks and that fear that I couldn't do it. And then the other thing was the point where you asked us to ask our friends for feedback on what they thought we did best and what our value was to them. And that was quite a difficult thing for me to do. I wasn't particularly comfortable texting my friends and saying, what do you think I do really well? But I was just really touched by what I got back, that my friends took it seriously, they put some effort into it. And that really helped me to believe that I had what I needed to have to go out there and help other people. I don't think I would ever have done that without somebody challenging me to do that, because it just felt uncomfortable for me to ask. But I'm glad I did. Actually taking that step and getting what I got back were all the things that I think are important for me to have to be a coach.
Yeah. And you touched on something there that, I've forgotten I could do that. And I hear this all the time going through this process, that there are certain parts of people's past and their experiences and what they used to be good at, but then they start their own business and they think they're starting from a clean slate, and they're not. I don't work with people who are fresh out of college. Everyone's got this incredible life experience, and people don't always connect the dots that, yeah, you can still do that. You can bring that amazing experience and use it in this way over here. So I love that once you connected that and saw, actually, I was really good at this. And then you had your friends confirm, yeah, you're great. And we really value everything about you. And so I think you're starting to help us see those breadcrumbs that led to you now going out and networking with confidence, being invited to speak, crushing it when you do. And that whole process, where you've got to, it's following all these little insights. And I think we often wait for these big breakthroughs, but usually they come from these small insights along the way that we notice, because sometimes these little things happen and we don't notice, which is why I always start the calls with what's great with you this week, to start to look at what's good that's happening. What are those clues? So it's noticing these insights and then doing something with it, taking action on that as well. And that's when we start to get to where we really want to go to. It doesn't happen in one big leap. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Swantje, what has been your aha moments?
Yeah, I think two big ones. So one is related to the group. It's also the atmosphere or the container that you create with the help of all of us. Because let's be honest, building a one-person business is a pretty lonely story. So having this, it's almost like coming home twice a week into a group of people that are there, that sometimes give you tough love, which I very much appreciate, and say, hey, now get your butt out there, or no, you have everything, so just go and do the next thing. But are also super supportive. And yeah, so if you see the visual version of this, you will see that everybody's kind of fevering there. And when somebody else talks about their results, and we also get feedback during the week, like we can interact, people look at our stuff. And I think this is really one of the biggest things that you can't even measure in money. So, and yeah, the other part is, I think when I started, I had like very big difficulties to come up with, what exactly is my client niche, which wasn't necessarily because I didn't want a niche. It was more than like the system I'm coaching with is working with metaphors, and it's structure and emotional support. This can work on a lot of topics, and I've seen it work on a lot of topics, and I've done it for a lot of topics. But then that's difficult to communicate and allow people to understand. So I had like a bit of an image of a client. And then I kept looking at that description and thinking, that's not very special. I mean, any good coach can coach this person. And I got really, really frustrated. So I was kind of stuck like Sam with her system. And then you just came back and say, do the next step, do your value thing. And, your client, it has to be only special. The special out comes out of the combination between you and who you are and what you can do and what the client wants to be done and wants help with. So that was a huge revelation, that this is what makes it unique. So I would have never gotten to that one by myself. I would have just gotten stuck again and again on rethinking my niche. And then rethinking my value, but not making, like Catherine said, not making the connection.
Yeah. And then there's a little bit of a tango, you do the two parts and
then you go back
them to find that, I call it now the value sweet spot, which is the area between everything that your client wants and everything that's unique and special about you, where those two overlap. That's where the magic happens. And that's where you're naturally differentiated. No one else is ever going to have that same value sweet spot. And I love that you said about the support of the group, and it is quite lonely building your business on your own. And when you are going through these moments and your mind is spinning around in circles, one, it just stays that way unless someone pulls you out of it. But also you can start to use that as a self-fulfilling prophecy in the negative sense, that you can say, oh, I knew I was going to be no good at this. I knew I wouldn't be able to figure it out. And it's not you at all. It's just a natural part of the process. And going through this with a group, you can see that at some point everyone has the same experience. So it's completely normal. And you've got a place to go to have that support. But also because you're seeing just how unique everyone is and how their system is different and their marketing is a bit different and their messaging is different, then what I've noticed that nobody ever does is compare themselves, because I think everyone starts to have that confidence that, I'm on my own path and that's great. And everyone's here to support each other, but there's no kind of competition at all, which I love. And even going through the program, we've had people who have very similar businesses, but what they come out with at the end is completely different. So yeah, so thank you for raising all those points. And I'm just loving hearing all of this, but it's nice for me to just reflect back on your journeys too, because it's just been so wonderful to see that progression. Let's go to Alice.
Yes, thank you. I'm feeling a little bit like I need a few aha moments, which is not to say I haven't made amazing progress. I really, really have. And I think the things that have been most helpful to me, and it happened yesterday, hence why we spoke, is that I sort of motor on and then I suddenly feel totally stuck and at sea and unsure where to go. And that lasted for a few days, and we had a call and that really unstuck me. But for the moment, I'm very happily, kind of steadily progressing things.
Yeah, exactly. Having that momentum is great. And I know that you were very apprehensive coming into the program at the beginning because you weren't sure what to expect, and other experiences that you'd had weren't exactly what you needed. So I love that you've found it so helpful and building that momentum and finding your way as well. And that we're here for you when you get stuck, because that's, as we were just hearing, it's a normal part of the process, but we all go through those moments. We all have those moments of doubt and stuck and, oh, what am I doing? But that's why the group is here for you. So
yeah, thank you. That for me is at the core of it, apart from anything else. Actually, the core piece is the person who I am working with able to see me and accept me the way that I am now. And we can work on things and change, do things and whatever. But actually, that's fundamental when I'm working with people, that I want every client to feel like they are totally accepted and welcome. And I think that's what is offered within the program as well. And it's the emphasis on calls. It's not a case of fitting oneself into a box or in my case, making my voice quieter. Sure, having consideration for other people and absolutely wanting to, but not needing to not be Alice. And I hope and imagine that everyone else on the program would have that same experience. And it's when you have that safety that you then, well, some people seem to get aha moments. As I say, I'm going to work on that hard. But yeah, it really is that for me.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I say. It's not about comparing, oh, she had 3 aha moments, I've only had 1. It's everyone's on their own journey in their own way. And I really love that. And it wouldn't be the same without you in the group, Alice. It is. Yay, you're back.
I think I had a few aha moments, but the most important thing that I appreciate is really the opportunity to try things out. And I think over the last couple of months, I've tried a lot of things, a lot of LinkedIn lives and trying to find clients, launching my program and not being successful. So it's getting feedback from clients. My current clients really love the value I deliver, and the conversations I have with businesses also give me the impression that the thing that I'm delivering and offering is innovative and new in the section, but it hasn't transformed yet into the financial success that I'm looking for and that I'm working on. And I think that is something that I really appreciate in the group, is having a space where we can celebrate our successes and we get support when things don't go the way we initially thought they would. And I know that I'm not far away. There is somewhere some tweaking, and probably some tweaking in who is not only my client, but who is my customer, so who has the decision and the money. And I think that is, for me, a huge learning that I would not have done on my own in that level of depth and with that speed. So I think the level of depth and the speed of my progress and my learning is that what makes it really special being in this group.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I made it 12 months. It used to be 3 months. And then I realized that, okay, you get the core done in the 3 months, but then when you implement things, sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. It's all a big experiment, and sometimes new opportunities come from nowhere. And having that extra time gives you that space to experiment. And then what I love with the work that you've been doing is that you will come and say, well, this is what I'm thinking. And then we all work together to like refine that. And then if it doesn't work or it does work, you come and feed that back and we can review it together. And that, okay, well, what would be the next thing be? Or now I'm going to go off and do that and have the support to go and try the next thing. So yes, I love that everybody as well uses the group in a different way, uses the group in a way that's meaningful for them. It's great to hear all these different experiences. So based on your experience of working with a business coach, some of you have worked with other coaches before, some haven't, they've come to this new. But if anyone out there is thinking, oh, maybe I could work with a business coach in my business, because I know some people are thinking, oh, that's only for big businesses, it's not for like little old me. But it is for every size of business, there's a coach there to help them. Is there any advice you would give them into what to think about as to whether now is the right time or what kind of coach to look for? Sam, is there anything from your perspective?
Yeah, so obviously I am well educated. I've got a degree in a master's, and I was doing my business probably as a hobby business alongside my job. And although I'd worked with other coaches, what I would definitely say is that this particular program puts in the structure and the foundations of what you need to know about a business. So I've had to kind of strip it back and go back to the foundations, like building my signature system, understanding what it's all about, developing it so that my message is hitting where it should and where it needs to. So I think it doesn't matter where you are in business, but you'll save yourself a whole lot of time potentially if you start at this point. So, wherever you're at in your business, great. But I would still look at this regardless of whether you're setting it or whether you've already been in business for a while, because you won't be disappointed in what you learn and how it's implemented.
Yeah, thank you. Again, that's another thing that I love in the group is that everybody is at different stages, but it works together so nicely because then you get different perspectives. And as we know, diversity is key in getting well-rounded solutions to anything. So having that diversity work for your own business is great. And people who are just coming in have very different and very interesting perspectives compared to those who've been running their business for a while. So yeah, it all comes together. Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. Swantje, you're our representative of those who are really early stage.
Yeah, really early stage in my business, actually. Yeah, that was probably for me the biggest question. I mean, being coached, super coached, and from different really great developmental coaches. I've never had a business coach before. And I quite honestly, I tried to already start more like a business attempt about 4 years ago or so. But yeah, I got really stuck in this. Oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where to start. Which stuff do I start? And then my biggest question before I actually contacted you, so the turning point literally was that I think I wrote you an email. I said, look, I'm really starting from scratch more or less. I kind of know what I want to do, but that's pretty much all I know. So I don't have a business yet that I want to scale or anything. And do you even work with me? And then we had a call. So if I would give an advice to any listener or viewer, if you feel uncertain, just jump on a call with Melitta and have a conversation around that. And nobody has to be worried to be pushed into anything. It's really about figuring out, does this fit? And then, yeah, you have somebody who champions yourself. I think that's the great thing about a coach. They will not just, shoo you. They will also be tough, but they are champions. And I think that's what you've been for, I would consider, like probably each of us. You probably believe more in our business when we start than we do ourselves. So that for me is the biggest tip for people out there, is just if you consider now in doubt, go and jump on a conversation and go from there, because it will clarify itself.
Yeah, that's great advice. And these days, particularly in the world of AI, you can go to someone's website and it looks perfect and it says the right thing, but until you have a conversation with someone, you're not really going to get a feel for, is this the right person I want to work with? So always have a call with any kind of coach, because it is a very close relationship that you're going to have with a coach. You're going to work together very closely to a very specific result. So you need someone who will push you, who will challenge you, but also support you, and someone that you feel comfortable being that open and vulnerable with as well. So yeah, have a call with me, but have a call with other coaches as well to find the right one.
And it's the only way I think, that you can get a sensation of if there's trust going to be developed or not. So for me, that doesn't work through the internet or any kind of electronic thing.
Yeah, you can do your research, but then that final call, I think, with any kind of coaching, is so important. Yeah, thanks for raising that. Alice.
Hello. Yes, I would say choose personality and connection over the modality, over the particular program. Absolutely hear what Sam says about the program being really important as well. But if you've got the choice of two, I would always go for the personality. And the second thing I would just say is I spent quite a long time not starting coaching with anybody for all kinds of good reasons, which in fact were procrastination. So although I did have an experience with someone before this which didn't work, I'm really glad that I did that, because it was like starting somewhere. So I think starting somewhere is a good thing. And most coaches who are kind of worth their salt will offer some kind of, try it and see money back guarantee, which I think is also a sign of somebody who's, serious.
Yeah, exactly. As a business coach, my goal is always to be the best investment in your business. And I want you to feel as confident in that as I am. And that's why we have the conversation, to see how I can really help you in your business. And I'm not the only business coach, of course. Anyone, as you say, who is good and concerned with getting the right results for you is going to have that same approach. Yeah. Catherine.
Yeah, I think the thing for me was that when I was looking at other coaches and other coaches I've seen present about what they do and talk about what they do, I was just really aware that I didn't want to work with somebody who was going to tell me exactly what to do. So somebody who says, I've done this, I know what works, you need to go out and you need to do this, this and this. And whilst you do know what works and you are telling us to do things, those things are enabling us to find our own way of doing it. So that's what I've always felt from you, is that I've just sort of felt secure in the fact that if I want to do it my way, that will be okay. And the more somebody says to me, you've got to do it my way because I know more than you, the less I'm going to want to do that. So I think that's, for me, that's the difference between what I've seen in you and what I've seen in other coaches. I'm sure they're not all like this. It's just my impression is that that's what I would definitely not want for me and my personality, and the fact that I like doing things by myself and independently. And as much as I might want support and some guidance, I just don't want somebody telling me what's good for me if I don't think it's good for me. So I want that flexibility to be able to work it out for myself and do it a different way if I want to. And I think that's what your framework gives. It gives all that exploratory opportunity to work out, what is right for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point. Before you have a call with whoever is on your shortlist for business coaches, to know what works for you, what you want, so you can start to see who's most closely aligned to that. Because I am not a heavy-handed kick-ass coach, but some people really need that. They need someone who's going to swear at them the whole time and no, just whatever. That's not going to be my style. But if you know what works for you, what makes you feel comfortable, what you ideally want, then I think you're going to have a much better conversation. So yeah, great points. Thanks, Catherine. Ines, we haven't come to you yet.
Yeah, I think for me, I have worked with coaches before, and it was always in a moment in time when I really wanted to not only make small steps, but make big steps and really move the needle, either for my running, I had a running coach, or now for my business. And as you said, for me, it was very important to understand what guidance, what expertise do I want. And I have a business background, but marketing sales was something that I did not feel comfortable with. So I was particularly searching for someone who can help me understand how to communicate my message and how to go out into the world and communicate. And everything else that your program and your expertise adds on, I didn't know when I signed up, was setting up my business for scalability in the future is something that where I just really know I've made the right decision, because that's where I want to go.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. As we wrap up this conversation, I'd love, if there's one thing you've learned through this process so far that you think I would love other business owners to know this, or to think about this, or to not dismiss this, that, or the other. If there's any other advice that you would like to share. Alice, I know you need to nip off. Is there anything you would like to share before you go?
Lovely. I'm not sure if it answers your question really, but something that has really been important to me in this process, this won't surprise you, is the idea of playing to our strengths. And I think playing to our strengths is really important, because I can get hooked into chasing the latest shiny thing on LinkedIn and making the nicest possible video or whatever. I'm not a video maker. You know, I am a teacher, and actually making those videos is kind of putting off. I loved it when Catherine was talking about getting out there. And I think that playing to our strengths also requires us to take a step in visibility. I loved what you said earlier about that, in visibility and getting out there. That may not be necessarily the thing we want to be doing. Quite like my little video editing software, but it's not that useful. And so that doesn't feel cogent at all, but it has been it's been a pleasure to see everybody. Thank you very much for hosting us all.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming today. And I think that is an important point, because as we kind of touched on there, sometimes coaches will push you to do their system, or it's only this way. But if that doesn't play to your strengths, it's not a sustainable way of building a business. So I think having permission to go against other advice, if it just doesn't feel right to you, and you think, well, I feel I'd be better off doing this, or this is where I'm more inclined, lean with your own instincts. And that's something we hear a lot on the podcast. I think pretty much every guest I've ever had, particularly the female guests, have always mentioned you have to trust your own instincts. You have to lean into your strengths. So yeah, I love that you've raised that. It's a big thing. And I don't think it's a message we necessarily hear enough. Like Sam was saying, you don't necessarily have or think you have business experience, but you still come with a lot of amazing strengths that will make your business work. So knowing that and being able to lean into those, rather than always feeling like you're pushing your comfort zone, you're doing things that you're not quite sure about, you're not going to build a strong business that way. So yeah, thank you for raising that.
Thank you. Bye,
permission to leave. Sam, how about for you? Is there anything you think, I wish I knew this earlier in business, or something that you would like to share with the audience?
It's exactly what you just said, and I echo everything that Alice said, because for me it's about that structured clarity. I feel like I've been given the permission to show up fully as me, myself, and I'm now embodying what I believe is my business, and that what we have done, especially the recent aha moments, has helped me to infuse this information and what I want for the business and my clients into every aspect of the brand and programs and all the courses. And that's the thing for me. It's that kind of structured clarity, I would say.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Swantje, any advice that you have for the audience?
Yeah, I think there's one point that we might have not mentioned too much today, and that's actually the huge library of knowledge that is at our fingertips. But not only that, it's the 12 weeks, but then there's a whole bunch of things around it on every single topic imaginable around business, which is always really valuable content. And you don't have to go through it one by one in a certain sequence. You come to the sessions and you say, oh, by the way, there's this thing, you might want to look at, and there's these 2 podcasts. And then you just pull that, and it's almost like a customized masterclass for your specific issue that you're facing right now or your specific block, and then it all works together. So it's all there, it's all available, but I don't even have to think about what I have to do next to actually fix my problem. So sometimes I just have to, it's like, you have said that so many times, just, follow, just do the next thing. I'm like, okay. And it works. I mean, every single time. And I think that's also part of the customization. It's not only the feeling and the connection we have, but it's also everything that gets into my hands is quality. I mean, any lesson is quality. I think that's really great.
Yeah, I'm glad you find it helpful. Catherine, how about for you?
Okay, so I think what I've learned from this is that ultimately I have the answers inside me. I mean, with some help. And that is exactly what I am trying to draw out of my clients when I'm helping them to improve their health and find creative ways to make changes that they don't see as possible initially in their lives that get them to where they need to be. And they may not have belief in that at the beginning. So I'm seeing that mirrored in this journey for me. I'm, trying to draw those resources and that knowledge that's already in there out of my clients. And that is what this has done for me, I think.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Ines.
So what I would like to reiterate is it's a process and I am a constant work in progress. So it's not one thing and I'm doing it and it's done, but it's constant iteration, feedback, trying to figure things out. And for me, at least, is getting closer and closer and closer to my message at the moment in time. And maybe in 3 years' time, it will be completely different. I don't know, but it's not something where I say I'm moving towards perfection, because that doesn't exist.
Yes, brilliant lesson. It's all about that progress. And if you don't decide to have a business coach or join a program, find someone that can be with you on that journey to help you make that progress, but also to recognize the progress that you're making, because that makes the next step in the process easier. Yeah, brilliant advice. Thank you so much. So if people want to know more about you, where can they find you? So Sam, where's the best place to find all about your wonderful fertility and pregnancy support?
So I have a website, www.naturalfertilityandpregnancy.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, so I can drop the links.
And on social media, are you Sam Jones or Samantha Jones?
Samantha Jones, just because a lot of my clients like to know that I'm female.
Good point. Swantje, I don't think you have a website yet. Is that right?
No, website is still work in progress, since we've been talking about work in progress, but you can find me with my profile on LinkedIn. So under the name Swantje Duncker with CK on the Duncker, which is usually the reason why people don't find me. And yeah, there's only one.
Yes, I love that. Catherine.
My website is thehealthcoachingcabin.co.uk with the www in front of it. And probably the best place on social media to find me is on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. And Ines?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn under Ines Kaps, Kaps, or on my website at www.passionforprojects.com. Yes.
Brilliant. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you want to find Alice, her name's Alice Sheldon. You can find her on LinkedIn, and her book is Why Won't We Taught This at School? So if you Google that, you will find her, and yeah, well worth investing in a copy of that. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have found this episode interesting and valuable. And if you want to know more about the Value Whispering Blueprint program and book a call with me to discuss, could this be the right support for you to build and grow and scale your business, go to valuewhispering.com and you'll find the details there. Meantime, don't forget to grab your special 250th episode celebration freebies at melittacampbell.com/250. You will find those curated playlists for you, the success walks, and you'll be able to access my special one-off podcasting masterclass as well. And if you have been listening to the show and you enjoy it, I would love it if you could leave a review on Spotify or iTunes to help more people find the show and benefit from all of the advice that's been shared. Meantime, have a wonderful week. I'll be back here next Wednesday. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, Value Whisperer and Business Coach, and I'll see you then. Bye.